In New York, as another shoe drops in the obstruction of justice investigation into the president, Donald Trump flexes his pardon power to send a message. The New York Times out with a stunning new report about a secret memo written by then acting FBI Director Andy McCabe with what the Times describes as, quote, behind-the-scenes details on the firing of James Comey, an event known to be under scrutiny by special counsel Robert Mueller. 2 days, two big developments in what we know about the obstruction of justice investigation. And the latest moves raising eyebrows at the White House? Well, Donald Trump unexpectedly announcing a full pardon this morning for Dinesh D'Souza, the conservative commentator who pleaded guilty to campaign finance violations, similar to the charges Trump's former fixer Michael Cohen could be facing. He also hinted at more pardons to come for former stars of The Apprentice, Martha Stewart, and former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich. It's not hard to connect the dots between them and the Russia investigation. Martha Stewart was prosecuted by none other than James Comey, one of Mueller's star witnesses, and Blagojevich was prosecuted by Comey's friend and current lawyer, Pat Fitzgerald. And it's probably not a coincidence that it all comes on the heels of that damning report from the Times detailing Andy McCabe's account of the Comey firing. The Times writes, quote, Mr. McCabe described a conversation at the Justice Department with the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein in the chaotic days last May after Mr. Comey's abrupt firing. Mr. Rosenstein played a key role in the dismissal, writing a memo that rebuked Mr. Comey over his handling of an investigation into Hillary Clinton. But in the meeting at the Justice Department, Mr. Rosenstein added a new detail. He said the president had originally asked him to reference Russia in his memo. To Mr. McCabe, that seemed like possible evidence that Mr. Comey's firing was actually related to the FBI's investigation into the Trump campaign's ties to Russia, and that Mr. Rosenstein helped provide a cover story by writing about the Clinton investigation. Trump lashed out on Twitter this morning, writing, quote, not that it matters, but I never fired James Comey because of Russia. The corrupt mainstream media loves to keep pushing that narrative, but they know it isn't true. But it's not just the media pushing the narrative, Mr. President, it's you.
Regardless of recommendation, I was going to fire Comey, knowing there was no good time to do it. And in fact, when I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
With us from the New York Times, Justice reporter Matt Apuzzo, who broke that story last night, and from the Washington Post, White House Bureau Chief Phil Rucker, also former U.S. Attorney, law professor at the University of Alabama, Joyce Vance, and former FBI Assistant Director for Counterintelligence, Frank Figliuzzi, all MSNBC analysts, four of my favorite people on the planet.